Hey everyone, happy interview day. This is Jess.
Happy interview day. It's a Friday for us. I don't know when you're listening. Hopefully you're listening right away. I'm Jen. Welcome to Fat Mascara.
Welcome, welcome. So very happy to introduce you all to Julian Reis. Julian has been on our radar for some time. I've been hearing about Julian for a while because he's behind a lot of really cool, very innovative brands. But really, he's somebody who has just got his finger on the pulse of what's happening with beauty around the world. He's a true innovator. He's somebody who is tapped into a lot of what's happening in beauty and the tech space and just really how retail is changing around the world.
Yes, we're going to talk about shopping. Let me give you a little background on Julian in case you're not familiar with him and his company, which is called SuperOrdinary, a startup he launched in 2019. He's also the co-founder of Skin Laundry, something you might be more familiar with. That's the chain that provides quickie laser facials. So he's here mostly to talk about SuperOrdinary. And like I said, you might not have heard of that, but you've definitely heard of the brands they work with, like Olaplex, Honest Beauty, Sunny's Face, Physicians Formula, Shani Darden, who I was just talking about on Wednesday with her cleanser. Basically, what they do is they help connect brands with creators and influencers around the world, especially in China, where beauty products are often discovered and sold via live stream channels that are hosted by shopping influencers. So if you're one of our listeners who's in China or another country where live streaming shopping is popular, this shopping model is nothing new to you. But here in the United States, there's only been some small scale versions of this type of shopping. And so Jess and I aren't as familiar with it, and we really wanted to learn more. So Julian's going to help us with that. And he's also here to talk about a new tech tool that his company is creating called Gala Gala. That's going to help regular people, literally non-influencers around the world, make a little money if a product they mention in some of their social content goes viral. I love that democratizing bit of this whole influencer culture.
Very
so I
cool.
think that's really cool what he's doing. So he'll share more about himself, his company, and give us a look at beauty shopping around the world and a sneak peek into the future of beauty as well.
So Julian, thank you so much for coming on Fat Mascara. I've been wanting to interview you for a while.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be on your podcast.
Awesome. So let's just kind of set the stage. What is SuperOrdinary? How do you explain it to people at a cocktail party?
So it's a really interesting question because I get asked it all the time. And, my background is not traditional, especially in the beauty industry. So just to take a step back, my career started in finance, and I've always seen myself as a problem solver, thinking about hard problems and how to solve them. And when I think about the beauty industry, I was shown the China market, many years ago. And I've always believed that if we could connect creators, consumers, and brands together, there's a really interesting white space in that business model. And that's what SuperOrdinary does. So whether the brands are operating on Amazon or in China, where the consumer is sitting on its website, where the creator's making content, it's our job at SuperOrdinary to make it really easy for those consumers to find those brands. So SuperOrdinary operates on multiple marketplaces around the world with many, many brands, helping them reach their consumer.
Can you say it even simpler?
I was wait, I'm still not sure I get it.
Wait, say it even in crayon. So what is the white?
Yeah. No, I know.
What is the white space in what is the white space? Yeah, where did that light bulb go off? Yeah.
Yeah, so the light bulb was really when I was living in Hong Kong, and I noticed that there were many brands that were available in, let's say, Sephora in the US that weren't available in Asia. And I asked myself the question, why? These are some of the best brands in the world that, we all know and love. But if you walk down and you're in Shanghai or in Beijing or even in Hong Kong, many of these brands weren't available. And I really didn't understand why. So that was the question in the white space was, why doesn't someone bring these brands there? But really to launch the brands in these markets, because there's no Google, there's no Facebook, there's no Instagram, where no one knows what pharmacy or Olaplex is. It could be, it could be the same as Dove soap. No one cares or no one knows about it. But it was the interesting opportunity was to be able to communicate and message these brands to the local consumer in these markets. And, what I said in the beginning about bringing brands and creators and consumers together, it really applies to that. So, educating the local markets about these wonderful brands and messaging it to them. And that's where SuperOrdinary steps in and partners with these incredible brands.
So these brands didn't have they had no awareness campaign. They had no one to give them any entry, and they didn't have any advertising, so to speak.
Well, they most of them had zero presence in these local markets, because if you think about
presence. Okay.
Yeah. So if you think about any brand that, the three of us create a brand today, and we start, selling it on brand.com here in the US. And then, we decide that we may sell it in Ulta or Sephora. But what happens after that? Well, maybe you go to Australia. You may sell it with Mecca in Australia. But, your reach and capabilities to get it into the hands of these local consumers, whether it's in Indonesia or Vietnam or Singapore or China, it's really complicated. And I think people overlook how complicated it is. So we have employees in these local markets. We have close to 700 employees in the regions that help localize these brands and communicate to the local consumer and educate them about the wonderful capabilities of these products that we manage. So it's a real value-add service.
So how have I don't know the Chinese market. So we might have some listeners who know the Chinese market very well. So you might be like, come on, Jess. But I'm just going to plead ignorance here. There are a lot of global brands that exist in China. MAC is in China. The Estee Lauder brands are in China. L'Oreal brands are in China. So how have they jumped through this hoop?
So I would say that there are many brands that have entered China underneath, the guise of these big conglomerates like L'Oreal and Estee Lauder, who have very large headcounts in the local markets. They may have, 5 to 10,000 employees. But if you think about many of these indie brands that have been developed over the years, whether it's Supergroup or Olaplex or The Ordinary, many of these brands only have, 20 to 50 employees in the head office. So if they don't have the capabilities to enter these markets.
Right. So so you're helping really these smaller indie brands who don't have the headcount and the resource. You're helping them get into China because they don't have that muscle to do it on their own.
And I think get into China is, we can break that down, because what it means is you're bringing a product into a market where there's zero awareness. So if we're bringing in this new, skincare brand, no one knows about it. And we did that with a brand called, Pharmacy. Pharmacy had zero awareness in China. Within a couple of years, we've made that into the second largest cross-border skincare brand in China, purely by building it through using local creators and local KOLs. So I think the service that we provide, it's really, as we see ourselves as brand partners, the general manager of the brand in that local market, because without having our expertise to be able to communicate and manage the brand journey and the brand marketing schedules, these brands will find it very difficult to survive given how competitive these local markets have become.
I just want to back up for a second and go back to the Sephora in Hong Kong that you were in. Why were you in the Sephora? Were you shopping for yourself?
That's a good question. So, one of my little things that I love to do is I love to go into Sephora. I love to go into Ulta and just see what are the latest and greatest brands there. So, yeah, I do go and got my guilty pleasure that I go and buy products to test them. I'm a skincare junkie.
But you said you started in finance, so you must have a thing for beauty that goes further back than this business that you've created.
Yeah, well, before this, I founded a company called Skin Laundry, which is a skincare services business that you have in New York and LA, and now we have in London and Asia. So that was the brand that I founded. So I've always been interested in beauty. And I think it's just one of those interesting categories that has always been interesting, because even in the good times and the bad times, they've done well. So the beauty index is like something that coming from the finance world, I've always been enamored how, like, even in a down market, beauty companies continue to do so well. Look at Ulta. Ulta, we've had one of the biggest stock market crashes recently across everywhere. And if you look at the Ulta stock, it's at the all-time high. So something's happening in the beauty industry.
Okay, I'm backing up even more. When you were in high school and middle school, where you were like, I'm watching the stocks on beauty? Or did you have a personal connection at all? Did you use skincare? Is there somebody in your life who introduced you? You got to like have an endpoint somehow. Or are you purely looking at it financially?
Well, I think I was, the truth was during my hedge fund career, I was living in Singapore and someone came to me one day and said, look, I'm starting a company and it's going to be focused on this Groupon strategy. And I was like, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with, Groupon. And it was like one of these like interesting business models where, you get this huge discount and I thought about it for a while and I said, well, you know what, this business model is never going to last because, you're just going to degrade brands. And the lady that brought it to me said to me, would you be interested in investing? And I said, well, actually, the one industry that I think is quite interesting that has really high margins and a lot of repeat purchases, which I've read about, is beauty. If you do something in beauty, let me know. And she came back a month later and said, look, I want to start a beauty website. And then I said, okay, great. I'm going to be your angel investor. And that's how I got into the beauty industry. So that was back in 2011.
Okay. Very different time in the beauty industry. It's gotten much noisier. I think a lot of people like yourself who worked in other industries and saw how lucrative this business could be. But for people who love beauty products, it's like, there's an emotional attachment. And
that's right.
You're a finance guy, but how do you separate out? How do you find those brands that you're like, you know what, pharmacy, that's a winner. That's going to do well overseas. Like, How do you separate the wheat from the chaff for business purposes or even for like emotionally as a consumer?
Yeah, I think for me, I've learned over the years that, and I love beautiful products. I think I'm like, whether it's food or whether it's beauty or other things, I love brands. I really appreciate, the work that goes into building a brand. Someone once told me it takes at least 5 years to build a brand. Anything that happens before 5 years, you disregard it. And I've always said that to myself because I think it's true. Building something that's long lasting takes time. And whenever you see these brands that come very quickly around the corner and they accelerate and, you're always wary of it. So how do you separate the wheat from the chaff? I think that's the billion-dollar question. And I actually think you always start with the product. And you yourself will have your own opinion. And I think it's a really good exercise for everyone to really take the blinkers off and, look at what you have in your medicine cabinet or on your shelf in your bathroom and look at the products and ask yourself, do you really love this product? And you'd be surprised because sometimes, and I've asked this to many people, most people would say 50% of the products do they really love, or do they like the brand or the look and the feel of it?
Do you mean the goop inside? Like the actual, like the R&D, the goop versus
Absolutely.
like the packaging or the...
Absolutely. So does the product work? Does it smell nice? Do you want to put it on your skin? And I think, look, I do this experiment all the time just because I know deep down inside, like sometimes I smell like a moisturizer and I smelled one yesterday and I was like, oh, that really doesn't smell nice to me, even though everyone tells me that it's great. It's not the reason why I don't have the final say on the product because it's, I'm not the end customer, but I think it's just a really interesting way for anyone. It goes for everything, whether it's art, do you want to put this piece of art on your wall? It may be amazing to everyone else, but do you want to look at it every day? It's that kind of honesty you have to have with yourself. And sometimes I use that as a point of how to start the conversation. But, the products like, for example, like Augustine Espada, that's a product that I love and it's super expensive and I find it very hard to justify purchasing it for myself. But, I love the product and I think the product smells great and it's efficacious. Same goes with lots of other brands that I love, but it's just one of those things that I think it's a great way to start a conversation with any beauty person.
So as a finance person, I find that a very interesting analogy because you know the cost of goods for like an Augustin and Spotter cream. You know how much it costs them to actually make that and ship it to you. And you know what the markup you're paying, and yet you're still paying it. So that right there is the emotional connection, right?
It is. It is the emotional connection. And I think that's what's wonderful about beauty, because the emotional connection to the brand and to the product, sometimes doesn't go hand in hand. Like the product itself always, and I can tell you, I'm sure you guys have products that you like this for this, like this hair care, you like this conditioner, and everyone will have something different. But, if you look at how consumers shop, what I noticed in Asia was that the younger generation was very eager to discover new products. So whatever we showed them through SuperOrdinary, they're very willing to try. But sometimes, they didn't like the scent, they didn't like the fragrance, so they wouldn't purchase it. But it was a very interesting way to get a lot of customer feedback. We had one product I never forget, which actually, when you put on your skin, was actually quite heaty. But we didn't realize that, Asian culture, they don't like heat products that make their skin feel hot. But those things that we would never have known unless we've tried it. So it's a really interesting way for us to collect data and then feedback that back to the brands. But I think that's been a good exercise.
How did that sampling happen? You said they might not buy it. Are you out there like giving away free samples of heated face masks with your ground team in Shanghai? I don't know.
So we do, I think we were one of the pioneers in the live streaming space. What you read in the press about, these live streaming events that happened in China, we were there right at the get-go. So we saw that firsthand. And I think that was something that I learned very quickly about how the West and the East were very different and how they shop. And, when you're purchasing products in China, what we call through social commerce, it's done when you log onto these platforms, you know what you're doing. You're being sold to. Whereas in the West, you go into Instagram, you don't want to be sold to. You actually are there to look at photos and other people's experiences. So for us to test products, it was a great way because we could do a lot of promotions in a very short period of time. And there'll be almost like very high intense QVC type experiences, and would sell, millions of dollars of units within 10 seconds.
Who's the big seller? Like, who's this star seller that everybody is like, yes, click, I want to try it? Are there like personalities that you think are really successful?
Yeah, there's like a whole handful of them that are known in the market for doing, incredible sales volumes. And we're talking within 10 days, north of $1 billion for one person.
And are they kind of, impartial or?
Yeah, so then they're non-exclusive. They work with every brand but the power has shifted because in the beginning, they work with brands that approach them, but now they have full product teams that do full investigations into the products to make sure that the product is a good product before it goes onto their live stream. So the market's changed considerably. The live streamers are very concerned and take it very seriously. It's a big business for them. As you can imagine, they're making between 15 and 20% of that revenue. So we're talking,
wow.
huge revenue for these creators. So when people say, Mr. Beast is the biggest creator in the world, I mean, I would argue, or Kim Kardashian.
Oh my God, my stepson's obsessed with him.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can tell you for a fact, like all of the biggest creators in the US are dwarfed by the ones in China, but that's how big the market is.
So do you think that the US, like we're just, on a delay and will eventually be going in this direction?
That's one of the reasons why I'm based in the US now, is because we think that social commerce has already entered the US, but I think there has been a lot of companies that have been trying to get into live streaming here, to various degrees of success. And we think that the model is changing in the US. It's not one size fits all. We think that the omni-channel approach and social commerce approach is very different. And we're investing heavily into different software solutions behind SuperOrdinary to help brands connect with their fans and their consumers. So we've made some acquisitions over the last couple of months to help engage with the creator economy. One of the platforms we just recently acquired is a company called FanFix. And FanFix is an online platform for Gen Z creators to monetize that from their audience with content. It really allows us to understand who are the super fans and also be able to let the creators sell to these super fans. So social commerce, I think, is probably one of the most exciting aspects in the beauty industry right now. And where over the next 6 to 12 months, I think you'll start to hear a lot of the activities that we're going to be doing. So whether it's live streaming, social commerce through different platforms, but it's really much, I think in the US, what we have focused on is how do you use creators in the most authentic way? Because as you guys know, Instagram and Facebook and Google are losing to TikTok in such a meaningful way. And all the CMOs of these beauty companies have got their hands up saying, this is getting hard, really hard.
Okay, I want to back up though, but we have something like if you picture QVC and HSN, let's say Nicole from HSN, she's the top seller there. I'd never call her a creator. But imagine putting the power of that audience and reach and creativity in the hands of someone on the Home Shopping Network. Mm-hmm. I just am culturally, does the US is that gonna play well? Because I feel like every time we hear from our listeners, they're just like, I don't trust you if you make your own brand, and now how do I trust that you really like it? You're not just trying to make money. You know what I mean? It's
true. And that's certainly, QVC was the godmother or godfather of the whole industry, and I think that was an interesting learning experience, because you have to ask, what I asked myself was, who is that audience watching QVC and who is that audience watching HSN? And why does QVC exist? And my view with that was, when you go to QVC, you're going there because you're getting value. So there's a consumer mindshare that they've trained you. You're not buying a product because it's a new product and it's MSRP. When you go there, you're hit with 3 different, sales ideas before you even, it's like 2 for 1, limited time only, GWP. It's all about, and that's what QVC means to me.
Sorry, I would also argue though that you're also getting intimacy and connection with those people. Like, my mom knew this woman, Kathy, as a friend when she was watching QVC. And it was they were the original influencers.
That's right. And I think that
for a lot of people, it is that friendly relationship.
Yeah. And that relationship's really important, because I think that's where there's a commonality between China and the US, is because you're on that channel every day because you want to see Kathy and you want to support Kathy and support Kathy's lifestyle.
Yeah.
That's really...
Yeah. She talks about her kids.
Yeah. No. And you learn about it in entertainment.
Kathy's kids need new shoes. Come on, buy the special value.
No, it's just it's a buddy. These people are they become a friend. I mean, it might be overstating it, but you know what I'm saying.
No, but it's true, because people will log in every day and they'll be like, what's Kathy selling today? And, it's building that relationship, right? It's like Wheel of Fortune. People want to go on and see the commentator and, it's a relationship building. But that world is, our children. I've got 3 teenage boys, and they hate when I say, what do you watch on TV? And they're like, we don't watch TV, we watch YouTube. I'm like, okay, I get it. Or, and they don't use Google, they use TikTok. We go to
crazy.
We went to a Japanese restaurant the other day. I'm like, where do you guys want to go for ramen? And all 3 of them use TikTok to search the restaurant. And I'm like, how does that work?
Yeah.
So that's what we've experienced in the channels in the last 6 months has changed so much for brands and beauty brands especially. And this is what I think is super exciting about the industry we're in right now, is that we should embrace it, understand that, guess what, things have changed for good, and how do we interact with that new consumer.
What are these changes? What are some that you saw in the last 6 months?
So number one, I would say that because of the movement away from Meta to TikTok, it's become increasingly harder to reach that consumer, because anyone now, if they create a viral video, can be a super famous overnight. So before, it was going after these big creators and paying them because they've got huge followings. Now it's about the long tail of the creator or influencer economy where everyone can create a video and everyone has an equal chance of becoming successful if the algorithms make them viral. So that has become the biggest change in content distribution. And that what that means to me is that you now, for a beauty brand, you have to now go far and wide working with creators at scale, whereas before a normal beauty brand would work with 20 to 40 influencers per month. But now how do we work with 1,000 or 10,000?
So how does that work in practice?
So right now, I think the CMOs or the digital marketing managers at beauty brands are now trying to figure out ways to work with creators at scale. So at SuperOrdinary, what we're trying to deliver to them is a solution where they can give us a campaign or give us a product, and we will farm it out to tens of thousands of creators that work with SuperOrdinary. We have over 150,000 creators that work with us, and they will create content. And if that content goes well, it will help drive traffic. One of the things we do also is we're making Amazon creator shops. So creators can open their own store on Amazon. So just like a brand would have their own store, these creators would have their own store. And let's say that you guys have, the Fat Mascara store. We would populate that store with all your favorite beauty products.
We do, Julian.
Do you? I didn't know that.
Of course we do.
Well, then we can start.
I don't think our listeners know that either. It's just products that have been mentioned on the podcast by our guests and things like that. Not like...
It doesn't have like a jazzy,
We can help you with that. We can totally help you with that. That's
No, but I more mean like that does exist, right? That technology is already here. Right?
Yeah. So I mean, where there is the difference is these creators wouldn't normally have their own store, but we create that store for them. So let's say we have
I see.
We would create a store for an individual, and then we would put 20 beauty products that they love. And then they would promote that store, and then they get a commission from every product that's sold through that store.
Julian, do you get down in the nitty-gritty of what's trending, or are you looking more macro? Like, could you tell me, like, oh my God, what's going on with Pharmacy's green mask? Everybody's obsessed. Or this red lipstick. Do you look at beauty trends or you don't? You're looking more at scale.
I do try to learn as much as I can about particular brands, why they exist and what's going on with them. Because I do think once in a while you'll see something before other people, and that makes me move a lot faster to get behind a brand. I'm trying to think of an example of that, but I think we were very early on into Olaplex as an example, because that was a product that we truly believed in, and we believed that that product would do extremely well in Asia. So that was a brand that, we jumped on very early on to help build that.
Why did you think it was going to do so well in Asia?
I think shampoo generally, I think if you think back 3 or 4 years ago, there was a movement in higher end shampoo, prestige shampoo. So in Asia, the majority of people in Asia would use, traditional mass market shampoo, but there wasn't an opportunity of brands that really spoke to that, that $20 to $30 customer who was willing to spend more. But also a lot of shampoos have a lot of strong fragrances, which Olaplex doesn't. And it had a scientific, efficacy around its bonding treatment, which really played well for, Asian hair. So when we tested it through the due diligence process with our focus groups, it was one of the brands that came back with a resounding, yes from everyone. And it continues to do super well. Recently have gone through our equivalent of Black Friday in China, and it's done extremely well. So, it continues to be an outperformer, and we're always looking for brands that we can get behind early to help build in that market.
I wanted to ask, what one country do you think, or is there any one country that drives global beauty trends?
I think traditionally it was Korea, as everyone knows, but that Korea has obviously had its issues over the last couple of years, and in fact, it continues to decline. I would say the US is by far, in my view, the most innovative. I mean, I think if you can look at the US compared to Europe in terms of the number of new brands launching every month, there's no second place. And if it is, it's a distant second place. Like, I mean, the number of brands that we see come across our desk, we have probably 2,000 brands in our pipeline right now, 2,000 that we're continually monitoring and data searching that, and these brands are, obviously some of them are very small, some are growing. So we have a huge database of brands that we're constantly looking at. But I would say the US continues to be at the forefront of innovation and branding and testing.
This database that you keep of these 2,000 brands, I picture some, small beauty brand owner out there. We have a lot of them among our listenership. Mm-hmm. And they're like, I want to be on that database. I want to be like, how do you decide who those 2,000 are?
I mean,
sales only?
No, anyone that reaches out to us, we put them into the pipeline. We're always very inquisitive. We're always curious as well, because someone out there may have this magic formula that really is exciting. I think the advice we give to brands out there who are small is that, entering into a new market is expensive, and even more expensive these days given the marketing costs. So, just make sure you're prepared for that market entry. Typically, when we talk to a brand entering the China market, we generally recommend they should be doing between 25 to 50 million US dollars in their home domestic market in revenue. Just because I think that kind of size generally means that they have the infrastructure to support a global rollout expansion strategy. Many brands are, moving very quickly to that and beyond. But I think for us, it's just making sure that the brand is comfortable with that kind of, it's expensive to enter these markets. For some time, it can take 1 or 2 years before you start to reap the rewards from that global expansion.
I'm just thinking, okay, you're SuperOrdinary, you're working this way. What about Ordinary Super? Would you ever bring brands that are only available in Asian countries to the US market or other markets? Like, is there a reverse to this?
That's a great question. So, I think that we're starting to see more and more Asian brands come to us to enter the US market. We launched one called Sunny's Face from the Philippines. It's a color cosmetics brand.
Love Sunny's Face.
We're familiar.
Yeah, so we launched that brand in the US about a year ago. We managed them in China, in Southeast Asia, and they won an award in the Allure award for matte lipstick recently. So that was our first foray into bringing a brand from the East to the West.
I just think about too, because we get word, because we're beauty experts, maybe from Stylovana. I don't understand how they have all these brands from Asia that like no other distributor has, but like there'll be these hot products and people in other countries will want them as well. And it just might be a way to do that. I'm thinking about sunscreen. I'm being very greedy and personal here with this,
what's your favorite sunscreen
Get
brand?
on that, Julian. Well, I have a bunch. The one I'm using right now is Beauty of Joshan. Oh, it's Korean. But it's not readily available in the States.
So how did you find out?
A guest of ours on the podcast talked about it. Then I bought it, and looking to buy it, the only place I could buy it was Stylovana, but then it was only like $9. So I was like, what? For this gorgeous sunscreen that would be $40 at Sephora.
I know. I mean, we're just launching an Australian sunscreen called Naked Sundays. So that's another one.
Naked Sundays.
Yeah, so there's so much coming out of these markets that are interesting, and look, the products are good. Like the products are being formulated and made in countries where SPF is really, really important. Australia has probably one of the highest rates of skin cancer in the world per capita. So, you get products from like these different markets, which are certainly, very, very, very great formulations.
I hope I've planted a seed for Ordinary Super. Okay, continue. Go ahead, Jess.
So what's next for SuperOrdinary? Like, are you going to be expanding into different markets, like different global markets? What are you thinking about?
So our focus for the immediate future is to really build a closer relationship with the creators who are promoting our products to the fans. It's a really big focus for the whole company. We're based in Los Angeles, where everyone who walk past tells you they're a creator these days. And so it's, and I think the whole entertainment industry has been turned upside down because everyone now is focused on the creator economy. So our focus is working with these creators to help them sell products to their consumers and to their fans. And we're going to be doing that through building out software solutions for them. And our hope is to become known for being the companies that help brands get to global consumers by working with these creators. So we'll be launching next week. We'll be making an announcement about a platform called Gala Gala. You can have a look at it online in about a week's time.
Gala Gala.
GalaGala.com. And that's going to be a platform for everyone to can set up their creator store and basically link it to any one of their social platforms. We will pay you on the number of views you create on your content. Plus, we'll give you a commission on any of the products that you sell.
Do your sons want to be on the platform? Are your sons creators?
Well, my oldest son's a DJ. He's a 17-year-old DJ. And I will make all of them on the platform. So yeah, to your children.
So that's an endorsement. Okay, if your kids are on it, okay.
I will
Everybody
make sure I'll be on it. Yeah, everyone hop on. So we're really excited about that because
that's
I
awesome.
think we really want to give the opportunity for people who buy products, they can make some money back from promoting products as well. So you've heard it here first. We haven't made the announcement yet, so I'm happy to give you guys this.
And are you talking to our friends out there, our listeners who are like on TikTok and have 1,000 followers? Are they allowed to go on Gala Gala?
Everyone. So my view is that everyone should be able to.
Because they could make the next Peter Thomas Roth under eye viral video. You never know who it's going to be.
You saw that, and I remember speaking to the PTR guys about that video. I'm just like, how did you do it? And it just is by chance. And I think that's what's so magical about
they didn't do it. That's why it's so lovely, because you knew that it wasn't like a paid for thing. It felt so genuine,
Exactly. And that lady that did it, I mean, she got pinged by so many people straight after that. And I mean, I think everyone watched that video, and I'm not sure how many millions of views that it got, but you could be sure that SKU was sold out immediately. And I think that's what's so magical about what we get to do with Gala Gala, is to really encourage people that, you can have your time in the spotlight by creating content for a product.
Don't you feel like the new kind of moment right now with like the creator economy is less like one person, maybe this is kind of what you're saying, but let one person is creating this like mega platform for themselves, and more like now it's like catching lightning in a bottle. It's like one person gets the spotlight for a second.
Yeah.
But then rather than one person is just killing it with like, 1 million followers.
100% agree. I mean, I think the world has changed. So it's very fragmented now. And now everyone can be a part of this economy rather than the very few that are represented by agencies and things like that. And remember, one of the statistics I read was that 90% of creators make their money from a brand deal. What Gala Gala does is it allows everyone to have a brand deal, because we work with hundreds of brands and you can find them on Gala Gala. And there's your brand deal because you can buy the product, you can promote it.
So if this woman, before she had made this video, she had gone on Gala Gala, she's like, listen, I'm going to make this video anyway. Let me just sign up for Gala Gala, link it with the PTR. Now I'm going to make my video. I don't mean to sell it, but just in case this happens to go viral. Is that what you're aiming to do?
Well, you got to pay for your Augustine Espada somehow.
It's not cheap.
Who stands to lose with this new model? Is it the influencers who thought they were top bananas, or is it like other retail? Like this is exciting. I think if I were somebody who loves beauty and I'm like dying for my chance in the spotlight, I want $200 to buy that botter, that this is exciting. But who in this new creator economy, in this new moment we're talking about, who stands to lose?
Traditional retailers could potentially lose out because this is a new channel for the creator to buy the traditional multi-brand retailers. I think the brands will stand to win because they will have a new channel for their sales force. And guess what? They're getting all this UGC content created around their brand. And guess what?
A bigger army. Yeah.
Can you imagine if you're PTI and all of a sudden every month you're getting 5,000 pieces of content being created around that eye mask and 20% of them go viral? I mean, that's like the marketer's dream. And we really want to solve for that problem. And, we thought long and hard for the last 12 months about this, the biggest problem for brands is to get awareness at a price that makes sense. And also it helps, the younger creators to say, guess what? I really endorse this product. I really love it and I'm going to promote it. And you can do it in a very authentic way. It doesn't have to be like, buy this and, I'll get paid. It's just all you have to do is hashtag Gala Gala, and then we will follow you around the internet and we'll pay you on the views that you create.
And Gala Gala only partners with, this is probably obvious, but like the SuperOrdinary brands, right?
We're launching next week. We've already signed on about 50 brands. We look to grow that to over a couple hundred brands in the very, very near future. Very, very exciting for the brands out there. Please reach out to us. When you go to galagala.com, you can see, and we will go back to you and sign you on. Yeah, it's really, really exciting.
Very cool.
Our listeners will be, a lot of them work at brands and a lot of them are creators.
Yeah, this is like major news.
It is major news. I'm surprised I haven't even...
Wow, this is major news.
You guys get the scoop. I mean, it's something that we've been working on for a long time.
Yeah, this is enormous.
Because we think we're solving a huge problem. And the biggest problem is, brand awareness and finding that customer. And we're getting creators to use the audiences across all their platforms rather than saying, just follow me here. But also they're encouraged to get more views. So the more views they get, the more they get paid, the more transactions that go directly back to the brand. And the brand gets to keep the customer information. We don't hold it. We let the brands retarget that customer. We give them the email addresses. So for the brand, it's a really important tool. If they're selling through to a traditional retailer, they would never know who that customer is. Whereas through us, we give you the customer back to the brand.
Well, before we let you go, at the end of every one of our podcasts, we do a little speed interview. Are you up for it, Julian?
Sure, let's do it.
It's quick.
Friday afternoon.
Okay, ready? Okay. Okay, so you travel a lot. What is your favorite luggage?
I have a Tumi small little backpack that I use.
Travel light. Wow. Okay. What's your favorite airplane snack?
I do love Doritos. It's my biggest guilty pleasure. I will have a bag of Doritos every time I get on the plane.
Which flavor?
Nacho cheese. Not Cool Ranch. I know everyone says Cool Ranch, but I'm traditional.
It's okay. It's okay. All right. Shifting gears. What's the best advice you've ever gotten?
This is something that I say to my kids is two things. One, life is short. And the second thing is don't ever care what other people think of you. Someone's told me that, and I always repeat that to myself and to my children, because I think if you can live by those two rules in your life, everything's just going to be fine.
That's really good. And worst advice you've ever gotten?
A lot of people on this call would disagree with me, which is like fail and fail again and learn to fail. I just feel like that's something that's always been told to me, and I've always disagreed with it. Like, just really, I know failure is an important part of everything, but people try and promote it. It's just something that I've just always disagreed with. I think you always go for it.
Julian's like, that's what the losers say.
Like, well, okay, when people say fail again, well, first of all, I've only read that. No one's actually said that to me personally. Like, aren't they saying like just aren't they kind of just saying go for it? Like, if you fail,
life is short. Yeah, in a way, it's life is short.
I never interpret it as somebody saying like you should try to do badly.
I know, well, no, but sometimes I think I don't know. Sometimes I interpret it that way. There's like it's so encouraged. Like there's so many books and the F word, failure. Like, and I get it. But I'm half glass, full always. And I know you can go for it. Just go for it. And that's what I'm more like. I don't know. F
like
to
make
me
it
is always
good.
Make it good. Exactly.
I like your positivity. Okay, and then finally, what is the business you admire most?
Business I admire most. Well, I have to say, it's not just the business. I've got an identical twin brother who works in e-commerce, and I admire him the most because we're both doing two different things. And he runs a company. I'm going to plug him. He has a company called Watchbox that sells watches. And, I've just always admired him for his persistence. And, we're in our late 40s and we're doing the whole entrepreneur thing. And it's always been great just to watch someone who's exactly the same DNA do it at exactly the same time. So, very much cool. a big admirer of him.
Awesome. Unless he fails, then you're just
yeah. Then I'm putting him on Gala Gala.
He's our first sign up. Oh,
yeah, first sign up. Yeah. No.
This was real informative. I have a lot to think about, Julian. Thanks for coming on the show.
No, thank you so much for having me. Really nice meeting you both. And
this is great.
Yeah, I hope. Certainly. Once we launch Gala Gala, I'd love to get back on the show again and talk you through what we've learned.
Yeah, this is really great.
Thank you.
This is awesome. Thank you so much.
We hope you enjoyed the show. It's your reviews and feedback that help us make the podcast even better. Head over to iTunes to rate and review us, or email your thoughts to info@fatmascara.com.
We also want to answer your beauty questions and hear what products you love. To share a Reis One product review or to ask a beauty question, email us at info@fatmascara.
If you send it as a voice memo file, we can even share your voice on the podcast. You can also do that by leaving us a voice message. Our phone number in the United States is 646-481-8182.
Thanks so much for listening.
Ever wonder why people don't get the care they need? Why their care isn't the best it can be? Ever wonder if home care could be as safe and effective as hospital care? So patients get hospital-quality care during home treatment. Ever wonder if you could drive out waste so organizations could save billions? Health needs the power of wonder and bold ideas in pharmacy, care, and benefit solutions. Ever wonder who can do that? Wonder no more. Evernorth brings wonder to health services. Learn more at evernorth.com.